Hey guys, I want to talk about my amp and what it basically is. So this is the VOX AD50VT. This is the twin speaker combination. 212s is what's in it. Alright, these are your amp settings because it is a amp modeler. Your boutique clean is basically a clean Dumble 100 or Super 100. The boutique overdrive is also going to be a Dumble Super 100 overdrive. Your black 2x12, that is going to be a Fender twin reverb. Your US high gain, that is basically like a dual rectifier. The new metal, that is basically a 5150 or PV 6505, basically the same thing. Your Tweed 4x10, that's basically a Fender Bassman. Of course, AC15 and AC30 are self-explanatory. Alright, your UK Modern, that is going to be a Marshall JCM 2000 UK UK 80s. That is going to be a like a Marshall JCM 800. UK 70s is basically your Marshall Plexi. That's the settings that you got on it. So you have everything from super clean, which is going to be right here. I'll do a little demonstration in a minute, to super dirty, which is going to be up to your US high gain. So to give you guys a little bit of what that's going to sound like, I'm going to go through each channel real quick. Might help if I turn the guitar back up. Alright, the only thing I'm going to adjust on it is the volume, because when we get into the higher gains, it's going to get really freaking loud if I don't. So this is going to be the boutique clean, basically your Dumble Super 100 clean. Black 2x12, which is going to be again the Fender twin reverb. Tweed 4x10, this is the Fender Bassman. AC15, AC30. Gotta turn it down a little bit. The Marshall Plexi, Marshall JCM 800, JCM 2000, Alright, now we're going to get into the heavier stuff. Your 5150 basically. Your dual rectifier sound. And your Dumble Super 100 overdrive. That's basically what they're supposed to be replicating. I found they're pretty close to what it's supposed to do. With the speakers I got in here, which are the Eminence Governors, they just make everything sound very well. I don't even have to mess with the treble, middle, and bass too much. I basically found one setting and just keep it at that setting. Another thing about this amplifier that I do find interesting is that it's got some built-in effects. And instead of having to wait for everything to just start coming through, it's basically instant. I'll go over those in just a second. So with your effects, we have an auto Y, which I don't use. I just normally keep it right here on the compressor. And then you got a compressor with phase. Yep, with the phaser. Your compressor chorus, delay, chorus reverb, and you know, the list goes on. These sound more like your spring style. And then of course you got your rotary. Then you got more of your electronics sound to it down here with these two. Sometimes I will use a delay or a chorus or something on that line, but this basically keeps me from having to have a bunch of pedals. Overall, you can't get much better than this unless you have the actual amps, of course, but if you got that kind of money just laying around, just feel free to do what you want to do. As far as the simulators and all that you can find online, that's good too if you want to save space. But me, I prefer a actual amplifier. To me, it's got a little bit more soul to it, just in person. But I know you guys aren't going to hear that, and you don't feel it. All you're really hearing is a recording that I make. But that's pretty much all I did. I got two of the Eminence governor speakers put in here. I thought about doing the Celestion Finish 30s, but that just wasn't it. It just had a little too much of a high end, pretty much. That's the issue I had with them. So some of the sounds that you'll get, it'll sound good in a recording, but in person, it would sound harsh. These basically is like a more modern version of those, if you ask me. They kind of tone it down enough to where you get a lot of good sounds. In person, it's kind of hard to beat. And even when you record with them, you can tell it still has the soul and it still sounds great. So, yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And this amplifier, altogether, I think I got like less than $600 in the rig. Because the speakers were more expensive than the amplifier. The speakers that were in it were the basically the Celestion 7080s. It was just with a VOX stamp on it instead. They sounded good, but they just weren't quite hitting where I needed it to. These pushed it up a little bit higher. The amp was $210 plus shipping. I think it was like $230, $250. And the speakers were another $300. So yeah, about $550 altogether. And honestly, 50 watts, that's more than enough for playing around the house. It does have it back here where you can turn down the power level all the way down to basically nothing. But as you can tell, I got it maxed out. And it does also have it where you can use external cabs. So, yeah, that's a very nice thing to have. And if you look up here, you also got presets, which the presets do sound great on this, that I got for my channel 1 and 2. It's got it where you can write a new one if you want. Got it down here where you can have it set to tap, makes it a little quicker, or you can bypass. Pretty much like with most modern amplifiers that you have now, but it's a bit older and does use actual tubes inside, which is why I say Valvetronics. The Valvetronics, it's got basically a solid state and a valve set in it. That way you kind of get the best of both worlds without having the full price. And it is very heavy, which is why I got it on a cart. It makes it much easier for me to carry across the house for doing the videos. So now I don't mind bringing it out just to do a short. And before I would use like my MB15 for some of the shorts because it was easier to carry, like a lot easier to carry. So that's something to keep in mind. It does weigh a hell of a lot with these stock speakers in it. It was like 50 pounds, which I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're having to carry it with one hand in front of you on your leg and everything else to go through tight spots, it does get quite a bit gets to be a bit much. Let me put it like that. Gets to be a bit much doing it like that. So the cart helps out a lot. The cart makes it where I can just carry it through by pulling it behind me and I'm okay. Plus I can lay stuff on top of it and carry that too. Makes it quicker, easier, more convenient. The cart kind of pushed it over the $600 range because it was an extra $60. So, but still, if you're going to get one, if you're just going to play at the house by yourself, then you might want to get the single speaker model. I know I don't do any gigs or anything like that, but with recording, it does help out having two speakers for everything to kind of mash in together a little better. So yeah, if you're not into like your modelers online and you want a amp that can basically do everything, that's a good way to go. It is a 50 watt amp, and you do get the actual tube experience if you want that. So basically, when you first cut it on and when you cut it off, make sure you have your volume all the way off. That is important. If not, you can blow the tube. You can blow that inside. And also be careful carrying it because you have tubes inside. don't drop it. If you drop it, then you're probably going to have some trouble. But that's something to keep in mind. I know not everybody's going to have that issue. And there's probably somebody that shot theirs 1,000 times and it's still working somehow. But if you're like me, you don't have that kind of luck. So be careful with it. Don't hurt yourself. If you want to, do like I did. Get a card off of Amazon for like $60. And then you got an easier way to carry it. Even though getting the cart to pull in the spot was kind of aggravating, but I got it. Just a few seconds to do it. And as far as setting it up, trying to get the right length, that took a little extra time, but overall, it'll save on your back, your legs, and all that good stuff. And if you wanted to, I don't know why you would, you could technically use it as a seat. I don't recommend setting things on your amplifier, but if you're one of those people that does that, I recommend keeping liquids away from it. That way you don't mess up your electronics. That is easy to do. Then you're out of an amplifier. At that point, you're just going to have to take the back off, which is a lot of screws. And you're going to just unhook those speakers and hope somebody buys them. Or you could take those speakers, put them in another cab. Either way. I hope you never have to worry about that. But that is going to be my recommendation on amplifier. Is cheap, gets most of the sounds I look for anyway. I'll say, honestly, I haven't really found a sound yet that I couldn't do, so it's gotten everything down pat. What really helps out a lot too is if you have a decent guitar to play with. I say for about $1,000, you could probably have your amplifier set up and a decent guitar, a decent cheap guitar. So it's probably going to be a Squire at that price range. But still, you can get some cheap guitars nowadays that are pretty good. That won't give you too much problems. Though you're probably going to have to put a little bit of work into them later on to get them to sound up to spec. Does something like a, let's say a Fender Telecaster. You're probably going to have to change your electronics out in that cheap guitar. But as far as just, hey, I need to have a cheap gig rig, there you go. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.